Today I want to talk about Lucky Break, a perk from Yui Kimura that is actually really good, that is severely slept on, and that basically nobody uses, and I don't understand why. What does this perk do? Lucky Break activates whenever you're injured. While Lucky Break is active, you will not leave any trails of blood or scratch marks for 60 seconds. That's 1 minute of being basically untraceable and not leaving any scratch marks. While healthy, for each second spent healing another survivor, you will increase Lucky Break's duration by 1 second. So basically you can get your charges back by healing other survivors. If you heal a survivor after unhooking them at normal speed, that's 16 seconds, 16 charges of Lucky Break back. Now this is an incredible perk for escaping from killers, especially on indoor maps. You can zip out and lose killers so easily with Lucky Break. And there's a lot of really fun setups and combinations you can do with this perk. So in today's episode, we're going to unpack Lucky Break, and I'm going to talk about some really incredible, amazing synergies and cool things you can do with this perk. And some of this stuff wasn't even possible before last patch because there's 2 perks that got adjusted that actually really help with these Lucky Break builds I'm going to talk to you. And if there's ever been a perk or a build where I really wish we could have a 5th or a 6th perk slot, it would be this one, because as I'm going to be talking to you about all the different perk choices and options and synergies and what different things do, you're going to realize, start putting the pieces together in your head, that there's a lot of really fun combinations you can do with Lucky Break. So the first one is going to be basically a staple perk use with Lucky Break, which involves 3 perks. So the first one's Lucky Break. When you're injured, you will leave no blood or scratch marks for 60 seconds. The second perk is Overcome. Whenever you do get injured, that movement speed bonus that you initially get is extended for 2 seconds longer, then will be exhausted. But the cool thing was this, is that after you take your first hit, not only are you not leaving scratch marks or pools of blood, but you get that 2-second boost to your speed to clear some massive distance away from the killer. Cut a corner, give the killer the slip, because the last perk lets you juke the killer so easily, especially as long as you play it right and the killer doesn't see exactly where you went. A lot of times you can get away with this combo. Bite the bullet. What this does, whenever you're healing, you don't make any noise notifications or grunts of pain. And then there's an extra bonus to where when you fail skill checks, you only regress 1% instead of the normal amount. But what we want is the silence it gives us to when we're healing ourselves. And also it helps us when we're healing other teammates, when we're trying to get our Lucky Break charges back. So this setup here is beautiful. And then the only thing you have to bring after this is something you can use to heal yourself. I would highly recommend a medkit in all of these setups. So basically how the play goes is you take a hit, you're not leaving scratch marks, you're hard to track, you get massive distance with Overcome, you turn a corner, find a rock, something to hide behind, and then you start healing yourself, and then you go completely quiet. So no scratch marks, completely quiet, massive distance. Most of the time killers are just going to immediately drop chase and not even bother looking for you. And you can do this time and time again. Now, like I said, highly recommend a medkit with a gel dressing and the self-adherent wrap just to get that extra little bit of speed so you can heal yourself as quick as possible. And the cool thing is, if you start healing relatively quickly after you get enough safe distance from the killer and start using your medkit to heal up, you will still have at least around 30-ish seconds, maybe 25 seconds, 35 seconds, just depending on factors, of Lucky Break use left. So as soon as your exhaustion's over, you can pull this combo off a second time, and that's before you even get your charges back. And now, one of the weaknesses of old Lucky Break was that whenever you're injured, you lose charges of this perk. So whenever you'd be in a situation where you got hooked, and then the killer, or not the killer, but after you get hooked, you know how you come off the hook and then you're injured, need to be healed? Well, Resurgence got a massive buff, which really synergizes beautifully with Overcome and Lucky Break. So in the event that you do go down, the chase doesn't go your way, whenever you get unhooked, you will have 70% of your health instantly with Resurgence. And that's good for 2 reasons. 1, it's only going to take a couple seconds for your teammate to heal you up so you don't keep losing out your Lucky Break charges. And 2, it's only going to take a couple seconds to get healed up so that way you can have your Overcome active again, because you have to be healthy to get the bonus from Overcome. So this is a beautiful Lucky Break build, guys. So much synergy between all these perks, and even with Bite the Bullet, because you want to be healing your teammates to get your charges back, and at least you heal them silently with Bite the Bullet. Extremely fun build. And you might think that I'm ending the episode here, but I'm not. There's so much more to unpack and talk about with Lucky Break. So this is a beautiful setup to use. But this build goes way deeper. You could also use a setup like this. Like I said, for this first variant of builds, it's going to be Lucky Break, Overcome, and Bite the Bullet. Those are the 3 staple perks you need in this, and something to heal yourself. So yes, you do need that medkit. And I do understand that Franklin's would probably hard counter this build. And there is quite a bit of Franklin's in the meta these days, but you're not always going to go against Franklin's. And if you're worried about that, I would highly recommend clicking to like a different survivor loadout, maybe taking off your item, and just have it appear that you're not bringing an item into the trial. And then whenever the countdown goes down to like the last, I think like 7 seconds, maybe 6, it instantly switch back to your other item loadout. So that way the killer doesn't know you're running an item, so they're more likely to maybe not bring Franklin's. So anyways, second variation of this build is the same 3 perks like we talked about, but with our medkit and gel dressing, we're actually going to be using a syringe in this version, which will give us a free instant heal. So this medkit will give us 3 full heals because we're using Streetwise. Streetwise reduces item consumption rate by 25%. So when you pair this with the gel dressing and the anti-hemorrhagic syringe, you can get 2 full heals out of this medkit with a little charge left over just to use that syringe. So this one, the difference is here is you get 2 heals out of this one, and then you basically don't get any more heals. With this one, you get 3 full heals out of the medkit, but you could even go 1 step further. And if you don't want to use Streetwise and just get the 3 heals off the bat, because usually 3 heals will typically be enough in a trial. Odds are you probably won't use this combo more times than that. I think the most I ever got to was like 3 or 4. And the reason why I got to that was because instead of Streetwise, I actually used Built to Last. So that way we can run into lockers to get our medkit charges back. And then you have to sub out the syringe here for one of the 8 charge items like the bandage. And if you use this setup instead, well, then you have a medkit that you can just keep continually refilling to basically guarantee that you always have your combo ready. So like I said, so many beautiful setups you can use with this loadout. I'm going to switch back to the Streetwise one because that's the one I kind of want to play with. I like using syringes. I think they're fun. But that will consume your medkit. So this is the first variation, using Overcome, Lucky Break, Bite the Bullet. Amazing, amazing combo, if not one of the best perk combinations in DBD for Survivor in my opinion. But the second cool synergies with Lucky Break after this most recent patch is actually, it pairs very, very well with good old Iron Will. So Iron Will's catch is that if you're exhausted, this perk doesn't work. So you can't use Iron Will with an exhaustion perk, but Iron Will will make your grunts of injuries reduced by 100%. We already talked about Lucky Break. You're not leaving scratch marks, you're not leaving blood. Whenever you're injured with this setup, you're not making any noise either. So no noise all the time, no blood, no grunts of pain. Now you don't get that speed boost because we're not running Overcome here, which is not really that big of a deal because with you being silent and not leaving scratch marks, you playing any loop, you will be so hard to find for the killers because you're not leaving scratch marks. They have really nothing to go off of. If you're a half decent looper, you could do some crazy megs and jukes with this build. So to go even further with this setup here, we're bringing Quick and Quiet because you can perform some ridiculous fast vaults or even running and hiding into a locker with this build because you're not making any grunts of pain. You're not leaving any scratch marks, and you can also either get a fast vault or hop into a locker really quickly with Quick and Quiet. You can do some really cheeky, sneaky ass plays with this setup. Like, this is an hilarious version of the build. Like, I like the first one. The first one's like, get a lot of distance, run away, heal up, get out of chase. This one's like, whenever you're injured, you're just really, really hard to track down. Because the last perk we're also bringing is Resilience for that 9% extra action speed, which stacks on our medkit self-heal. But also we get that additional bonus to vaulting speed. Now, if you don't want to use Resilience, I prefer Resilience here because it's kind of more of a looping setup. And like I said, when we're injured, we can get that fast vault with Quick and Quiet. We can also get a 9% faster fast vault with Resilience. So pick your poison. If you don't want to use Resilience, if you want to use something like maybe Desperate Measures, which boosts your healing and unhooking action speeds by 14% for each injured survivor in the trial. Injured survivor in the trial. This would actually work really good too, because that stacks with your self-healing time on your medkit. So you could heal yourself a few seconds faster if you brought like Desperate Measures just to save some Lucky Break charges. But with this one, we're really not too worried about it. If we lose our Lucky Break charges, we just have to unhook teammates and be proactive with healing our buddies just so we can get our Lucky Break charges back later on. But this build, beautiful, beautiful, really fun setup. But the crazy part part though is that there's just so many things you can do to play with this. Like I think on Nancy I have 3 different versions of the same build. I do. So this other version here is instead of using Quick and Quiet and Resilience, we're using Empathy. Why Empathy works amazingly well with Lucky Break is that this will always show us the aura of our injured teammates. So whenever anybody's injured anywhere, we know exactly where they're at, so we can go find them to heal them to get our charges back. You see where I'm going with this? You see why if we had 5 or 6 perk slots, this build would be OP as hell? Because there's so many beautiful perks that just synergize with Lucky Break. Empathy is one of the top ones because you don't ever have to find your teammates to heal them, because you can always just go look for them. And this is a really good one for getting your charges back consistently and repeatedly. And then for the last perk, you could use Quick and Quiet if you like that one a lot. If you want to bring a medkit setup like this with Built to Last to get your charges back, you can use that. If you want to bring Resurgence, you can use that. Or if you want to bring something like Autodidact. So normally I would say you don't want to boost your healing speed with this kind of setup because you want to heal at the slowest speed possible with to get your Lucky Break charges back. So you get as many back as possible in most situations. But here's the cool thing is that with Autodidact, you get that minus 15% progress penalty for skill checks. So whenever you're healing a survivor, you'll usually get at least 2 skill checks, but it'll make your progress bar reverse for the first 2 times, which actually makes your first heal a lot longer than the rest of your heals will be with Autodidact. But that also means you get a lot more charges with Lucky Break. But then after Autodidact pops off and you get max tokens, you kind of become a healing monster. So it's really not the most ideal choice for this build, but just a fun little synergy there that I thought I would show you guys. But you're more than welcome to ditch this one for any other perk. And then the last variant, like I said, Resurgence is super beautiful, assuming you don't have a hemorrhage or mangle status effect on you, because then you will just bleed that out. So you need to start healing right away after the unhook with your medkit, so you don't lose that value. But yeah, this is another variant, guys. Empathy, Resurgence, Iron Will, Lucky Break. Let me know which variant you think is the best. Which one do you enjoy the most? And have fun trying out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different variations of Lucky Break builds, because I don't know, they're fun. Was it 8, 7? I don't know. See you guys on the next one. Bye.